Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Mark.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another episode of the Feeder series, and last week we had our F2 season preview with David, which was a fantastic episode, and this week I'm very happy to welcome back, after his appearance on our F1 Worldwide podcast, Josh Revell. So Josh, welcome back to the channel.
I'm very happy to be back here. Thanks for inviting me on again.
That's no problem at all. We're always happy to kind of chat, well, F1, but I suppose it's kind of been Feeder series with you, so we're always happy to chat with Feeder series as well. But what we're going to be doing today is, like I said, F2 season preview was last week, so we're now doing F3 season preview, and for the majority of this episode, I'm going to be handing you over to the expertise of Mark and Josh themselves. A similar format to what we did with the F2 season preview, but instead of going through the whole grid and trying to grade them, because with the size of an F3 grid that might be pretty impossible, we're just going to do a top 5 drivers in the championship at the end. But starting off, Josh is going to go through it for us. He is going to give us the track guide for the F3 season.
Yep, thank you very much. All right, so the first round will be in Bahrain. So that's on the 22nd of March. It's the first time that the Formula 3 or GP3 series has been at Bahrain since 2015, if I'm correct, and also the first time it's opening the series. Then there's going to be Zandvoort as the second round, and I think with Formula 2 cars it won't be too bad. I mean, it's going to be an aero wash fest for all the cars that are there, but I think Formula 3 will be good to watch there. There's Barcelona, sort of. That's generally been the starting circuit for most of the series that have come before. I guess it'll just be a stop on the calendar. Don't predict too much great racing. Red Bull Ring, the fourth round. I think that'll be good. A good round. Silverstone. There's Hungara Ring. So, I mean, that procession of a circuit, well, yep, okay, I suppose that'll come and go. Spa-Francorchamps, the seventh round. Monza, provided, the situation in Italy has receded by then. And then the championship will conclude at the Sochi Autodrome in Russia. So it's a pretty decent calendar. I think, am I right, they've expanded the calendar this year to 9 rounds?
I believe they have. They've expanded it by, is it 1 or 2 races? I think it's 1.
Yeah, I think it is 1. And, I don't know, they got this weird thing where they put the Formula Renault Euro Cup in Monaco rather than Formula 3, which I don't quite understand. But nevertheless, I think the rounds that I'll be looking forward to in this one will be Zandvoort, by virtue of the fact that we really don't know how it's going to go there. But, Formula 3 as a category has got a rich history there, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I think absolutely fantastic, and thank you for running through the calendar there. I think it probably makes sense actually to give an extra round of racing to the guys, as in F3 it is such a huge grid. It is the biggest out of obviously F1, F2 and F3 themselves, so yeah, it kind of probably gives another chance to have a look at some of the guys, although probably by that stage you have a pretty good idea about how guys are going to perform. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the teams. So I will be introducing the teams, who's driving for them, and then I will be asking the opinion of Mark and Josh as to who they think will come out on top in the team. So we'll start off with the team that pretty much dominated the championship last year, which is Prem Racing, and their driver lineup for this year is Oscar Piastri, Frederick Vesti and Logan Sargent. And I decided to get this one out the way first because I know Mark would just be itching to be talking about Oscar Piastri all the way through. So to try and not make him wait too long, let's start off with you, Mark. What are your thoughts on Prem Racing?
This is actually going to be extremely close. You've got Logan Sargent, who I would say outperformed the Carlin car last year and had a few very good races. You also have Frederick Vesti, who had an amazing season in Euro Formula, and you also have Oscar Piastri, who had I reckon, has to go down as one of the best Formula Renault battles in recent years for the championship, going all the way down to the very last race. So this is actually extremely hard to call. My gut says Logan Sargent should get this, but I just have a feeling Oscar Piastri will do extremely well and will come out on top.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Mark. And over to you, Josh.
Yeah, I agree. Prem always does have... they're always going to have a great team. They're arguably the benchmark across the board, whether that's F4, F3, F2, and this year... they don't have the household names that they did last year with Schumacher, Schwartzman. Hang on, Schumacher was F2. Oh, I'm an idiot. But anyway, Sargent, Vesti, and Piastri, all very well proven. Piastri just had a fantastic year in Formula Renault last year and had a good run as well in British F4 preceding that. Vesti did unbelievably well in the regional championship, and Sargent, especially at Macau, he was up there and outperforming the others, including Dan Tickton. Was Dan Tickton part of the same team as Sargent at Macau?
I believe he was, from memory.
Yeah, and despite the fact that I think Tickton is a bit scramble brain when it comes to the connection between his brain and mouth. I do rate him very highly as a driver, and so to be outperformed by Sargent, that says a lot about Sargent's ability. And of course, last year he had a good campaign in F3 as well. So the fact that he's going to be in the team, which is going to be able to give him the opportunity, really, which he'll need to get up the front, I think it's going to be very interesting for to see how he does. But I don't know. It's a close one, but for some reason, I'm just thinking that Vesti's actually going to win the inter-team battle. It'll be very, very close. But, I just liked what I saw in the regional championship. But could be wrong. It's just a gut feeling.
The past couple of years, the Formula Euro Regional hasn't been the best indicator. That's why I don't want to put too much faith in Vesti, although he did it amazingly. But he just wants to say, look at previous history of regional, and that's why I'm not discounting him. He will easily be one of in the top 5.
Yeah, for sure. It's just there's a driver down the line that we're going to be talking about in this series, but you look at how he did in the regional. Of course, he came on later on in the series, but you look at how he did compared to other people that we'll see as well, and there's definitely a lot of potential in Vesti, of course, but again, it's just such a hard one to call with these 3 drivers. It could really swing either way. So it's going to be entertaining in that regard. It's not going to be quite as one-sided as some of the other teams in here.
No, I think it's going to be it's going to be even closer than it was last year at Prema.
I think. I was like convinced the way that you were bigging up Logan Sargent that you were going to go for him, and then Frederick Vesti came out from the things. But I think you're right. I think Prema certainly are one of the closest teams to certainly pick for in this. So we move on to the second team we're going to look at, and that is HiTech Grand Prix. Obviously, they are experienced in F3. We did go through them in the F2 season preview because it's their first season there, so that's exciting for them. But their driver lineup is British-born Max Futrell, New Zealander, and just runner-up in the Toyota Racing Series, and that is Liam Lawson. And to complete that lineup is Dennis Hager. So, Josh, we'll start off with you this time.
Yep, Liam Lawson. No, I had to say that, as my hometown boy. Got to go for the local talent. No, honestly, I think this lineup is. I'd venture to say that this is probably among the most talented lineups throughout the grid, because
easily.
All 3 of those guys are academy drivers. Futrell is with Renault Sport Academy. Lawson and Hauger with Red Bull, and there's very good reason for that. I mean, Futrell had an amazing. He's had an amazing career up to this point, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes here. Liam Lawson, he just came on in the Toyota Racing Series last year. Missed out on this year, but he nevertheless did demonstrate his ability. Last year, with MP Motorsport, he definitely showcased his ability at times, especially at Silverstone. So, he's definitely someone to watch out for, and he'll be wanting to, get his sort of quote unquote revenge for what happened a couple of weeks ago. And of course, you've got Dennis Hauger, who I personally think very, very highly of, and
so do I.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see how he goes, especially now that you've got 2 Red Bull Academy drivers who are in the same team, And I'll tell you what, Lawson's probably going to be feeling a lot of pressure here because if Hauger outperforms him, I mean, how Helmut Marko is. He'll look at that and he'll think...
I'm not allowed to talk about Helmut Marko anymore.
Oh, okay, I see how it is. Oh, don't worry, you've only got 2 Red Bull drivers out of the 3 in here that you got to talk about. So, we'll see how long.
I can talk about Red Bull drivers. I just can't talk about Helmut Marko.
Oh, that's a bit of a pity.
It's not good. It's not good for my blood pressure.
I can only imagine. But so it's probably harder to pick one out of this bunch than Prema, really.
Right.
I think the experience of Liam Lawson is going to pay dividends. I think because he's actually not far off with super license points. If he finishes high enough this year, he's got the super license points to a point where if they wanted to, they can call him up to AlphaTauri. So it'll be a crucial year for him, but. Yeah, I'll go with Lawson on this one. I was thinking about Hauger, but I think Lawson will have this for this season, and he'll actually, I reckon, be one of the contenders for the title. Watch that prediction completely flop.
I think a very interesting run through there. Again, a very difficult team to pick from. So, Mark, I now hand it over to you with that difficult task.
I would go with Liam Lawson. His performance recently has just been getting more and more consistent, I would say. He already had the speed, and he's just getting more and more consistent. And that is something that really pays off in F3, consistency. So for me, it's Liam Lawson, but Dennis Hauger is a very close second.
Very nice. And, well, that was kind of nice and brief run through, because I think, probably Josh ran through everything that needed to be through there. Very good run through.
Yeah, I mean, he took everything I needed to say.
Exactly. So we now...
saved you from having to talk about old Marko again. Oh,
thank you. Now, this is going to be a very quick one, as I'm sure Mike's going to know.
So, ART Grand Prix.
Go Porsche. Done.
To be honest with you, I mean, for the sake of the podcast, we've got to go through it, but, sort of a foregone conclusion almost, isn't it?
Yeah, Teo Porsche, done.
Okay.
I'll let you try explain the reasons and make it last for over a minute, but I think it's
are we going to run through the drivers?
Well,
I know Teo Porsche's in there, but does anyone else know?
Do the other two matter? It's Teo Porsche.
No, but I mean, we got to know who he's beating.
Right. So, as Mark jumped in.
Go on, Mike. Run through the team, and then I'll give my 2 cents.
We always knew that Mark was going to be very much on this, and yes, ART Grand Prix. They have Teo Porsche, who is a French driver, and he currently has 100% record in all the kind of racing series that he has above of karting. Alexander Spoiler is his teammate, and Sebastian Fernandez. So you very quickly heard Mark's answer. I think when we did our ones to watch in F3, I think I think Mark gave his love for Teo.
I think I covered Teo Pourchaire enough in the ones to watch.
So we will hear Josh's thoughts on Teo Pourchaire.
Rightio, okay, so immediately let's rule out Fernandez. That guy could not drive a hot knife in the butter. Smollett, he had a decent, run in Formula Renault. Was it Formula Renault? I'm sure it was.
Yeah, Formula Renault. He finished third.
So he had a decent run. He'll have some decent results, but Pourchaire is something different. And with ART Grand Prix, it's going to be a wonderful partnership, I think.
I don't mean to crap on Gasly and Ocon, but he's France's next world champion if he makes it to Formula 1.
If he does. You know how cruel the sport is.
But if he can make it to Formula 1, he's going to win a world championship.
I mean, talk about bold calls. I know you love him, but...
Have you seen him race?
No, I know he's very talented, but I still think you cannot judge what a guy is going to go and do, because I think a lot of people would have rated Nico Hülkenberg as a world champion as he went through the junior series. So I'm not going to compare Teo Pourchaire to Nico Hülkenberg because I know you will kill me, Mark. But we will leave that. I think Teo Pourchaire is this absolutely super talented guy, and I'm really excited to see how he progress. But yes, I think at ART he is the obvious choice there. We now move on to Trident, and we have Lirim Zendelli, Devlin De Francesco, and Ollie Caldwell. So we will start off. We'll start off with Mark this time because he didn't really do one for ART. He just kind of said Teo's name. So we'll start off with Mark.
I don't mean to discount Zendelli, but I can't factor him in. For me, just based off Asia and how he's free agent, how he's been getting better. I mean, this is gonna sound stupid, but I've got to give it to Di Francesco. I mean, Cadwell is good, but something about me just says Francesco could beat Cadwell. And I heard Josh's audible screams of terror.
I mean, Josh, the floor is yours.
But I'm just going off recent performances, and you can't say Di Francesco isn't getting better.
No, but to be honest with you, there were stages in his career where getting better wasn't exactly a hard task. You ask some of his Romanian teammates, and basically an improvement for him would to be able to get out of the paddock without ramming anyone. So,
it's true. I mean, I do want to give it to Ollie, but just part of me, fuck it, I'm saying Cadwell. I mean, that's probably going to come back and bite me, but it's between Cadwell and Di Francesco. Zendelli's inconsistent, to be kind. But
that's how I describe Pierre Gasly, I suppose.
Wait.
But no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong there. So you're going with Caldwell, huh?
Yeah, I'm going with Caldwell.
I was just confirming that because you did switch between the two. I wasn't sure.
I know. I was tossing up between those two. Part of me wants to say on recent performance, Di Francesco will get it, but then again, whenever he seems to be getting better, he tends to say, screw you guys for having any faith in me, I'm going to throw it all away.
Okay, so Caldwell it is then. Josh, over to you.
Righty, okay, so we got Zendelli, De Francesco, and Caldwell. Zendelli was the hot property when he won the ADAC F4 championship. But I think it was his third season, at the very least his second full-time season. So, you got to sort of factor that in. And, when he was on the Toyota Racing Series over here, he was just, 1 week he would be, in third place fighting for a podium. And I think it was a slightly depleted, field this year in Toyota Racing Series in terms of talent. So, I mean, it says something when Rui Andrade is, in the midfield. That says a lot. So the fact that Zendelli was sort of struggling a little bit, that sort of is a little bit concerning. So I'm not really going to say In fact, I'll take him out of the equation for Trident.
Basically doing what I did, like, no.
It's just, no, I cannot see him, being effective. There's just too much inconsistency there. Caldwell, definitely, you'd have to say, is in with a shot. I think De Francesco is, to me, he's a driver really who should just go back to the States and just run through the road to Indy program and go to Indy cars. I just think he's sort of that should really be his path. I just can't see things working out necessarily in Europe. Definitely can in the US. I just think he's spent quite a bit of time now in Europe, and I've just not seen anything to suggest to me that he's all of a sudden going to be the next big thing, despite the fact that rich Canadians sort of have been the hottest property lately in Formula racing. But, still, I just can't see it, So I'll go with Caldwell on this one, and I think part of that is because he follows me on Instagram.
Okay, thank you for that, Josh. And, I don't, blame you for having any bias towards drivers that follow you. I think that's a completely fair kind of assessment to make, It's why Dan Tictum's going to win the F2 Championship for you, isn't it?
Well, I mean, hey, Sean Galal has still got some time to follow me on Instagram and me stop making jokes on him.
Yeah.
I mean,
you see?
World's his oyster, I suppose.
Hey, after last season, I don't think he has a chance with Galale on this team. He's going to ruin his race every time he gets a shot.
Oof, a little harsh, but yeah, true. Oh dear.
But remember,
HWA Race Lab.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to talking about this one.
So am I, actually.
Here we go. So you've heard the team there, HWA Race Lab, and we have Enzo Fittipaldi, obviously grandson of the great Emerson Fittipaldi, Jake Hughes, and Jack Doohan. And obviously Jack Doohan is another...
How did you just say that last name?
Doohan. Doohan.
It's
yeah,
Doohan.
That's what I said. You guys are hearing things clearly. Clearly.
Come out to shine on the podcast.
Clearly, you guys are hearing things. Unbelievable. Okay. But basically, what I was going to say is it's another Red Bull Academy driver. So, Mark, be careful. But Josh, I will hand you over to challenge this one first.
Rightio, okay, sweet. So, we got a Fittipaldi offspring, which is actually talented enough to make it to Formula 1 rather than just be a paid test driver. Enzo, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I'm not massively convinced that he's going to outperform Hughes. I think Hughes is going to be the benchmark for the team. But, Enzo, I think sort of, I see potential in him. Jack Doohan, no, cool, move on. with Jack Doohan, I personally think really, now that the Asian, winter series, summer series, whatever you want to call it, is over, now he can stop screwing around in that. He can come back to some real competition here. So how he'll do, I don't think he'll do that well compared to these other two. And again, really, because there's going to be, so 2 or 3 other people in this championship backed by Red Bull, or is it just Lawson and Helga? Is there anyone here that? I don't know. There was some that used to be sponsored by Red Bull, but yeah, it's just Lawson and Helga. So he's got those two to go up against, and Helga as well is a rookie. So if Doohan performs poorly and his 2 other teammates, do better, his time could be limited at Red Bull, and that could sort of curtail things. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he goes this year against some pretty tough competition. But out of the HWA Race Lab, I'm going to say Hughes is going to be the benchmark for the team.
Okay, and Mark, over to you.
Yeah, you've got to go with Hughes with his years of experience in F3. But I mean, yeah, Hughes first, and if we're giving a second, I think Doohan will finish ahead of Fittipaldi. Just. But no, I don't rate Jack Doohan.
He also has that experience over Enzo as well, and it will be.
He does, and he did nearly win the F3 Asia, but
I mean, come on, it's F3 Asia, mate.
Exactly. You should be doing a lot better in F3 Asia if you're a Red Bull backed driver. If Red Bull's backing you, you should be good enough to win it.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
I feel like I don't know what's actually a less reputable regional Formula competition: F3 Asia or F4 UAE stuff.
Oh, well, if you're at the back of the field in the UAE series, really just find another sport. That is the nicest way I could put it.
Exactly.
But I mean, with Doohan, I'll just briefly dip into Red Bull here. He didn't underperform, but it's the Asian Winter Series. He did that last year. He's not inexperienced. He's not.
Yeah, he's not inexperienced.
He's not bursting out of the gate in this thing.
No. But I've got to give it. If we're doing it in order, it would go Jake, Jack, Enzo.
Yeah, I can't really disagree on that one.
I mean, if they keep this lineup again next year, I can't see Jake Hughes staying in F3 another year. But stranger things have happened. But if it was going in another year, then I'd have to give it to Enzo over Jack. It's just the experience in the F3 car that's giving Jack the edge for me.
And
I wonder how long that Red Bull. Sorry about that. I wonder how long that Red Bull sponsorship will last for Doohan. I mean, I already think Yuki Tsunoda, this is his last year in the Red Bull colours because they've set him an impossible ultimatum. But yeah, Doohan could be living on borrowed time as well.
I'm not allowed to say anything about Red Bull's decisions in F2.
Okay.
How they sent Yuki Tsunoda. Not allowed to talk about that.
Basically, Mark gets very upset.
Comfort zone, mate. That's why their space program compromised to putting an Eskimo on the moon. Anyway, so let's go to the Dutch. Shall we?
I'm
sorry, I'm taking over as host, Mike. I'm really sorry about that.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The one role I have, Josh, and you're just coming in and you're kind of storming in and you think you run the show. Look, second time on.
I'm looking really forward to. But my pronunciation of all the Genzo driver names.
Oh, good grief. Yeah, you're right. I've just seen them.
Yeah, well, Carlin is going to be very difficult. So, right.
To the second one.
We're going through the Dutch first, so at least that's going to be a bit more easy.
We will do.
We have to be very careful about this team. I'm already not well liked by the Dutch.
Okay, MP Motorsport. We have Richard Verschoor, Bent Viscouw, and Lucas Dunner. I'm going to go with that. Are we okay with that pronunciation?
I think that's correct, isn't it?
I thought it was Duna, but Duna.
Bugger it, it's Dunner.
Duna. I apologise if I've offended anyone with my pronunciations.
But
anyway,
in a team with Verschoor, he's a Dunner.
Set you up on a tee there, Mark. But we'll go with Josh first. Josh, what are your thoughts on MP Motorsport?
Richard Verschoor. I don't know why this guy's not in F2. I genuinely don't know. And that pissed me off last year when they had that joke of I do not call him a driver. We love. I have to drag this guy in, but we love Raghunathan and all that stuff. But when the dust settles and when we look at it from a purist motor racing loving point of view, it was an absolute travesty last year that Raghunathan went in instead of Verschoor.
Well, there were two drivers that went in that shouldn't have gone in.
Yeah,
Raghunathan was just entertaining on, and we're not. And I don't think we're allowed to criticise the second one. It's against F1 Twitter law. We're not allowed to.
Oh, Mark.
Well, bugger it. So, yeah. The other two, I mean, Duna, or however you pronounce it.
Well, he's a dunner.
I thought he was moderately alright last year in the Euro Formula series, kinda. I don't know, he kinda got decimated, really, by Lawson. And, of course...
I'll just look at it this way. He failed to win Spanish F3 and Spanish F4.
Yeah, but then you go higher up the grid. Fernandez, his best achievement was 4th in Spanish F3. You wonder why I dismissed him so fast. Duna, again, he did get decimated by Lawson, but then everybody got decimated when Toshiki Oyu came in for that one round in Silverstone and just absolutely freaking annihilated the field. I don't know why that guy's not getting lined up for F3. There are some strange things. For some reason, the Japanese send over the crazy drivers rather than the ones that can actually keep their friggin' wheels on the car.
He's a special surprise for later.
Yes, absolutely. With Bent, that's a hell of a name. I think he'll be second fiddle. I think he'll have some good moments, but Verschoor is one of those people that I will never quite understand why they dropped him from the Red Bull program. I don't quite honestly know why. I mean,
they've already got one good Dutch driver. They don't need two.
Oh, you think Max was a little bit perturbed or a little bit threatened by Verschoor? I genuinely don't know, because people
it's
criticise
run by
Red
Helmut
Bull.
Marko. Don't question it.
Oh, come! People criticise him a lot. I don't. I personally don't quite think the same way that a lot of other people do about Marko. But because there are some drivers in there who have been dropped where I've looked at it and gone, yeah, they just weren't frickin' performing. But
there's other calls where you think, what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely, and Verschoor is one of them. I genuinely don't quite understand why they dropped him. But of course, that could be a good thing in retrospect, because look what came out of it. He is the winner of the Macau Grand Prix. He is still in the F3 scene. There's potential later on to move up to Formula 2. And we've seen in the past that just because you got dropped from the Red Bull program doesn't mean it's all over for you. They brought back Alexander Albon. They brought back Brendan Hartley, despite the fact that, Hartley wasn't, a particularly good open-wheel driver. But, No,
he's not. He's...
to be honest with you, when it comes to his flair as a race car driver and open wheelers, he's a sponge cake with no flavour. But Verschoor certainly isn't that. So I really do hope that he can prove himself in this championship, and I do think he will. And they'll lead to future possibilities down the line. So in this one, backing Richard Verschoor 100% all the way to the potentially for the championship.
Very nice, thank you, Josh. That is certainly an endearing kind of.
Comes from the heart.
It does. Yeah. It does. Certainly does. Right, Mark, over to you.
For me, it's Verschoor for sure.
Someone was going to say I didn't want to. What is it with you and the puns in this episode? You're just coming out there with all these, man.
It's just MP Motorsport. So, sorry, were you just literally going, Josh has said all that needs to be said on Verschoor. You were dropping your pun. Right, okay. Brilliant.
I was just waiting to make sure he didn't say it so I could pull it out.
I think you're more just...
the whole time in my 58-minute speech, and I wasn't going to say that.
I think you're more just...
You wanted to.
Temptation was there. But anyway, so...
I think...
What do you think about Benton dinner?
Yeah, I think Mark is probably getting more excited about me pronouncing the Genzo Motorsport team names.
Dunner is... not in it. Ben Viscal, he could surprise us a few rounds, but he's also going to be a far place second.
Okay. So, we move on to Genzo Motorsport. We'll start off with the easy one. That is Carlin. Williams. And then we have Federico Malve. I'm going to go try and style this out a bit. Malvestiti. Yep, there we go. Or, as it looks, Malvestiti is basically how it looks. But we'll go from there. And then we have Matteo Nannini. Great names, great Italian names, those. Mark, after I've absolutely butchered the Italian names. Right, there you go. Brilliant.
Good. Oh my god. I mean, that kind of says a lot that is the person that you're going to friggin' back in this one is Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it says a lot about the team. You got Federico. Let's be honest, looking at his career, how the fuck is he still in racing?
Oh, there are some worse fucking guys on the grid that are still to come, man.
I'm sorry, but he spent four seasons in Italian F4 and hasn't finished higher than 6 in the championship.
Point taken. Okay, what about Nannini?
Yep, so he's fucked up. Matteo Nannini's, F4 UAE, that's the best you can say about him. Struggled in Spanish F4, which is... Yeah, and he doesn't matter. He is irrelevant.
That's a harsh thing to say. He doesn't matter.
He's irrelevant.
I apologise to everyone. We've now got to the stage of going through the long list of teams in F3 where Mark is just being brutally honest and going, nope, don't care. So
I'm sorry.
Well, we got past Prem and HiTech, and from there it's we got past Prem, HiTech, Porsche, and after that it's just been a case of he's fucked.
Well, they are.
This is the in-data analysis.
Look like World Championship material.
Hey, he was World Championship material for that one moment where Josh Revell sort of was a bit trigger happy in 1989.
Okay, I'll give it, but no. So yeah, I can't believe it's gotten to the point where I've got to give it to Caleb Williams in a teammate battle.
Yeah.
That's how shit this team is. I've got to give it to a driver who didn't even do that well in Australia driving. That is how crap it is. How can... I don't care that he's local to me. He shouldn't be a factor in a teammate battle. He should be the Malvestiti. Honestly. So this Genzo, if they score double digits, I will get a...
Careful.
Arguably the shittest team.
Is that your final answer in this one, mate?
It's Caleb Williams for the shittest lineup on the grid.
So,
that's affirmative answer.
I apologise in advance to anyone who is connected to Genzo Motorsport that we may just have insulted there in terms of just completely writing them off.
Their driver lineup insulted my love for feeder series.
Okay. Yeah. Josh, I'm going to let you try and maybe recover this one a little bit on that aspect.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Yeah, the fact that Caleb Williams is the shining beacon, really, of hope when it comes to form for this team is fucking horrible. I mean, yeah.
I think I nailed it on the head with my roundup of Genzo.
I mean, we got Nannini, who, sounds a great name. Oh, he used to be in Formula 1. Yeah, but I mean, Delatraz used to be in Formula 1 as well. We know how that went. At least the offspring was talented. In this case, he'll say, I won an F4 championship. It's like, in the UAE, which is, about as monumental and as an achievement as getting 3 subscribers on your YouTube channel.
But I feel like Fabio Briatore running around the track would actually outpace some of the drivers in F4 UAE. He'd still do better than some drivers
Have you seen his physical shape?
I know, that's what I'm saying. He'd still do better than some of the drivers in Formula UAE.
Some of them? Or all of them?
Yeah, most of them.
I mean, the 1 or 2 drivers that are in there just to get the freaking accolades.
Nannini, for example.
Nannini, for example, yes. Melvis Titty, no, fuck him. And Caleb Williams, again, just... the fact that this guy, again, didn't do well in Australia, didn't do well when he came over to Europe, got no confidence in him whatsoever, which is why I'm picking him to be the Genzo frontrunner. But that's sort of the sad situation surrounding Genzo. So if anyone out there who's from Genzo is listening to this, don't fucking apologise. You should think about what you've done. You've got a full year to decide whether or not you want to continue this charade.
Go sit in the 0 points corner and think about what you've done to F3 Genzo.
Absolutely. It was going so well until you announced these three guys.
I mean, we've car crashed. Absolutely. We've.
Oh no, it starts to recover. It does start to recover.
Okay, we're going to go with Sheroes. Sheroes racing team. Racing system. They're gonna. Let's get rid of racing system. That always sounds. Why would you ever put racing system after? But Sheroes themselves are actually quite a good team. So we'll go with, in terms of their driver lineup, we will go with Nico Carey, Igor Fraga, obviously the recent winner of the Toyota Racing Series, and David Schumacher. So we will start off with Josh on this one, and hopefully, we'll have a lot more positive chat about it.
Yeah, it will be fast, because, the person I'm picking, he was down here, and I mean, just from what I saw from him, he was just something else. But let's go through the other scum first. Kari, he's about as consistent as a bad case of Tourette's. I mean, there was a reason why he was dumped by Red Bull. I've all of a sudden just gotten hostile. But no, again, just Kari. I think now that Mark has sort of gone down, I'm like, okay, well, I know I can sort of push buttons a little bit more, but I know Kari sort of, I'm just, again, I just, when he was done by Red Bull, I was not surprised. I was with for sure. I wasn't with Kari. There's a reason for that. He's stupidly inconsistent. David Schumacher, I don't see a lot in him.
David Schumacher, he makes Ralph look like Michael.
Yeah, I need not say more. So, yeah, don't think too much of David. And then we got Igor Fraga. And, I mean, this guy's got the story of rags to riches or, video game to real life. It's not quite true. He was racing in real life a little bit before he went to video games. But having said that, he's come from a point where he had to give up his racing career and he went back to the sim, and the sim got him back into racing. It's a great story, and when he was over here, he was just, I mean, there was some stories, where, M2 were being a little bit mischievous, shall we say, in the sense that Fraga was sort of looked upon a little bit more favourably, but that's sort of unofficial history and sort of wild rumours and hearsay and, wives' tales and whatever happened.
From what even I just saw, I wouldn't really call it rumours.
Put it this way, with what we saw in Toyota Racing Series, and we know how good the likes of Colapinto, Lawson were, we know, and Carl Collette, we know how good they are. Fraga walked away from them. He absolutely, he just walked away into the distance. And it was a case of, what in the hell? Like, this guy is either, getting a lot of favour from the team, or this guy is the next big thing.
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, but,
he is good, but there was definitely team favouring.
But, you got to consider the fact as well that, Roberto Marino was down there. And actually, fun fact, I've only met two Formula One drivers in my life. Roberto Marino, as I did at Pukekohe Park Raceway, and Perry McCarthy. I've met the two drivers that were in Andrea Mulder. And they are the only two people from Formula One that I've met. The only two Formula One people I've met are the two people that were the drivers for Andrea Moda. I personally thought that was amazing, but, getting back on points here, Marino was originally meant to be down at Pukekohe Park Raceway for the Saturday before flying back to wherever the hell he lives nowadays. He stayed the Sunday and he stayed the week until the Grand Prix next weekend because the situation with Fraga was such that it warranted him to stay, And I personally see a lot in Fraga. I mean, his exploits in Gran Turismo have been questionable,
Questionable? I mean, he's the quintessential online racer.
I think that Cody guy from your neck of the woods, he was, he was an interesting character, but, it's Gran Turismo. You sort of got to suspect a little bit of that. So, I think, irrespective of whether or not it's fully down to talent, the thing is that Fraga has got a lot of backing behind him. He is officially a Grand Prix winner. He's won the Toyota Racing Series. He's got a lot more eyes on him now, and he's in a car which is going to be pretty much akin to what he's going to be driving this year in Formula 3. He's up against two dud teammates in a team which honestly isn't that bad. So I think he's going to shine this year, and really, I'd be surprised if he does perform like I think he will. I'd be surprised at the end of this year if he's not being picked up by an academy. So
yeah, I would also be. He's academy bound for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So go on.
I'm going to make a call. I'm going to say he's going to go to Red Bull because that's the type of thing Red Bull would love as an academy driver. Started in playing video games, all that. It's great for their marketability. It's the type of thing Red Bull loves.
Well, they're getting a little bit they wanted to sort of fill seats now that they just brought in randomly Gihan Derivela.
Yeah, so, what the hell happened there?
I don't know. I think there could be a cull at the end of this year. You think about who potentially is on the line here. I think Tsunoda's going. Vips could as well. If Vips does the proper thing and just says, screw it, I'm not going to get to Formula 1, I'll just stay here in Japan and get paid to race. And he could do that because when I watched him at Suzuka last year, you could tell he was definitely capable of racing in Japan. Doohan, I think, is also potentially going to be on the endangered species list, and Lawson, if he doesn't perform, he could be on the chopping block as well. Because I hope
Lawson performs. I really do.
I think he will.
Doohan, I couldn't give two shits about him.
Well, it's just we just know how the Red Bull program is. We know how sort of tough it is, and so I think that there could be a cull at the end of this year in that team. And if that's the case, it could free up space for Fraga, and as you said, not just marketability, but I also think his racing style.
Oh, he's good. It's good.
It's a style. I think it's something that Red Bull would be interested in.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they got no problem hiring rogues. I mean, they high-ticked him even at a point where he was ramming into people under safety car and shooting his mouth off and everything like that. It was only when he started making stupid incidents in Super Formula and started blaming other people for his bullshit. That was the time where they dropped him. But again, I think his attitude has changed a bit. I hope it has.
I really do, because he's got the pace and he's got the talent. It's just his mouth, like what you said, it's not connected to his brain.
Well, at least there's a loose connection there. So it's a harsh thing to say, but it just is. But yeah, again, I think Fraga is definitely someone who fits the bill for Red Bull, and he's definitely my pick for Sheroes. Oh, I'm sorry I'm going on for so freaking long about this stuff. Very, very passionate about this stuff.
No, it's very interesting to hear. It's very interesting to hear. That's why, obviously, I got you to join Mark on here, because I hope people listening at this point, are really enjoying learning a bit more about these drivers. And
I think they're listening. I think they're just waiting to hear the next driver we're going to bag out.
We've got one coming up, that's for sure. I've got a lot to say on something that's coming up. But until then...
Here we go again.
Let's see how we go.
I'm going to assume, Mark, that you are also Igor Fraga for Sheroes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Carlin Buzz Racing. We have Clement Novalak, Anam Ahmed and Cameron Das, not to be confused with Mercedes' new steering system. So, we will start off with Mark on this one.
Okay, let's just straight away get rid of Das, because he's not a factor. Would you agree with that? He's not a factor?
Yeah, but to dismiss him immediately is a little harsh.
Sorry. Looking at Cameron Das, I mean, yeah, he's got some history, but no, he's not a factor. Is that a bit better?
I mean, marginally.
So it's Anam Ahmed and Clement Novalak.
Yeah.
I mean, Novalak won the British F3 Championship with Carlin, so that's, you got to give him a bit of forwardness with that. Winning, I mean, British F3, it's somewhat competitive. Somewhat. Then you have Anam Ahmed, who not last year but the year before, I think he did F3 and he did somewhat well. I think he won a race, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I mean, he's not short of accomplishments, that's for sure.
No, but he didn't do too well in Japanese Formula 3.
Well, to be honest with you, Japanese Formula 3 is not particularly easy, you know.
No, it's not, but it's.
I mean, you got to consider here. In Japanese F3, generally, you don't know it until a few years down the line. But the people that you see at the top of those timing sheets are going to go to either one of two places. They're going to go to the heights of Europe, or they're going to go to the heights of Japan if they dominate the series. You look back in the history of people who won. Kenta Yamashita, Nick Cassidy. I can go on bloody well if my throat doesn't want to jam up. But in the last year there was Sasha Fenestraz, who for some reason Renault dumped. I don't quite know why.
I think Renault did a lot of weird dumping.
Well, they do a lot of weird things. They quintessentially French, I suppose. But dumping that Argentine/French bloke who arguably had a damn good future ahead of him was questionable. But I think
I don't agree with some of their calls at all.
I personally I'm not a big fan of what Renault does, and I really think there's a bit of a push, a marketable lineup next year. I think Renault would want another Arnoux in their team, really. French driver winning in a French car. So why they dumped him, I don't know. But he did win that F3 season in Japan, whilst Anam Ahmed won 2 races in that and finished 3rd overall. So it wasn't a bad season for Anam Ahmed.
I don't agree with their calls. I think they want the wrong French person to sign.
We'll keep you on track, Mark, because otherwise we'll get on another podcast if we talk about Teo Share.
He has more experience in an F3 car, and he's did well enough in 2018 to deserve a second season. I don't know why he didn't. I can't remember. But for me, it's Anam Ahmed wins the Carlin Buzz battle.
Nice. And Josh, for you?
Yep. I'm sorry, I keep on dragging this thing out for so long. Cameron Das, I'm not totally dismissive of him as perhaps Mark may be, but, nevertheless, compared to the other two, you'd have to say he's out of the running. Novalak had a very good season. He sort of dropped off the radar a little bit after his Toyota Racing Series run, and after that it was sort of like, okay, where the hell did he go? And then he popped up last year when he won F3, and now he's running with a French license in Formula 3 in the main game, and that's good to see, because he's not a bad peddler, not at all. And despite British F3 being mildly competitive, it's still it was still a decent championship, and he's with Carlin, so carrying over with the same team there. So I think there's going to be that would aid him in his quest for F3. Big in Edam Ahmed, world karting champion, was he? Was he European karting champion?
I think European, from memory.
I mean, I know he beat Mick Schumacher. But, yeah, I can't for the life of me remember which one. He won a major championship, and he did beat Mick Schumacher. So, that was really good. And he won, loads of other stuff since then. In racing cars, he's definitely not a bad peddler. Someone I think highly of. And, with Carlin being the team, you got to hand it to him. You got to say that Ahmed is going to take the honours.
Very nice. And we now move on to the end of this marathon of drivers through teams. It has been fantastic listening so far. So we are to the final team, and I think in this team we still have one more for Josh and Mark to get excited about in terms of having to be a little bit dismissive of that. But yes, we are with Campos Racing, and their lineup is Alex Peroni, Alessio Deleda, and Sophia Floresh.
Floresh. It's Floresh. However, I've heard two different pronunciations.
You've both said either one. I'll accept both. But anyway, the floor is yours, Josh.
I'm just going with Floresh on this one. I think very highly of her. I think she's been pretty unlucky in circumstances, including that bloody roller coaster ride she had in Macau a couple of years ago. I do think she has the pace, although I do think that Chadwell would help that. I think Chadwell. The bloody it's a new marriage between Caldwell and Chadwick. So I think Chadwick should be in this main game. I don't want to see her wasting time in the W Series.
Be careful what you say, Josh. You could offend a certain group of people.
I don't give a shit. Come on. I mean, if you're good enough, and Chadwick definitely is.
It's not permission to shit on W Series?
No, it's not. And we're going to lose by now. All the women are gone. But, I mean, it's got to be said. Come on. Chadwick is good enough to take on the guys. She should have. And Floresh is one of those drivers. But in any case, we're talking about Floresh here, and I think very highly of her, and I'm going to go with her actually because I'm not too convinced on Peroni.
Neither am I.
Yep, and now we get on to the fun.
I'll just talk about Floresh for a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, if you look at her, she's pretty good. She's better than some of the F3 drivers in arguably better teams. She did well. I think she did quite well in Formula Regional, considering how closely after her accident it was. I mean, other than when she did her best impression of a crash test dummy in Macau, other than that, she had pretty good. Well, she did better than some other. Well, I'm surprised. But when you look at her, I just wonder how she didn't make it to F3 sooner, while a certain other driver made it to F2.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly run through. Floresh, I think she'll be the one to beat. Peroni, again, not too stalled on him. Now, Deleta, if you're listening, get the fuck out of Formula 3 and leave this to the world-class drivers. I'm telling you the same thing that I told Raghunathan, because you're the same problem as Raghunathan. You couldn't win on 2 wheels, you can't win on 4. I'll just put this to you very bluntly. See the season out, or quit after the first round of Bahrain when you bottom the timesheets again. Then after that, consider the fact that maybe spending money on a sport where you're never going to succeed is not the best thing to do.
I mean, if I want proof of how shit he is, he competed in all 20 races of Italian F4 and scored 0 points.
Meanwhile, Raghunathan actually did relatively well in Italian F4. It's just like...
He's shitter than fucking Raghunathan. I'm sorry, but he's 25. He hasn't, literally, his first ever points in an FIA race, or an FIA, points giving race was in the F3 Asian Championship, which is a bit like saying you won Formula 4 UAE.
May I also add, he was with HiTech, which was the only decent team there. You know, he had a best result of 7th, whilst everyone else in the team won a race. You know, so I've got no sympathy for this guy. Get out of the sport, leader.
So,
says everything you need to know, huh?
I'm going to guess that Alessio Deleda has just gained 2 members to the fan club.
Oh, yes.
So, I think, rounding off with Campos, I believe you're both in agreement with Sophia Flores.
Yeah.
So,
come on, I want to hear what Mark has to say. Go into more detail about the letter, please. Go on.
I'm in a good mood today. Don't ruin it.
You're in a good mood?
Yeah, this is good for Mark.
Good enough mood. I don't want to ruin it by talking.
You on a bad day.
So, Deleda ain't great. That has been a great run through all the teams. I hope, guys listening at home, you have found that entertaining. Obviously, there has been a lot of kind of serious, just judgment up there, but with a bit of light-hearted fun as well. To salvage this, just in case we get done on that, the W Series, I think what we are disappointed with in Jamie Chadwick, the W Series in itself is fantastic for raising awareness.
Oh, yeah, it is.
For female talented drivers, but I think we were all disappointed that Jamie Chadwick hasn't gone on and progressed after winning the championship.
She's clearly good enough for the main game, you know?
So, there we go. We've had the kind of roundup through, guys. So what we will finish on is we will finish on a top 5 from you guys. So, Mark, do you want to give us your top 5 first?
This is in no order. Right now, without testing with how F3 is, I don't want to give it in an order. So, in no particular order, my top 5 are Piastri, Vesti, Sargent, Lawson and Porsche.
Very nice, and we'll head over to you, Josh.
Yep, so top 5 again in no particular order. Porsche, Lawson, Bestie, Sargent, and Hughes.
Oh, very interesting that neither of you went for sure. I'm correct in hearing that.
It's such a hard one, though.
It is. I mean, if you gave us 10, I'm sure would definitely be in it.
It's just such a it was. If you take Genzo out and Deleta, I mean that grid is just like, yeah.
And Kari, don't forget to take out Kari.
Kari is relatively sort of inconsistent. Not too fussed on him, but yeah. I mean, irrespective, it is the hell of a grid.
And Deleta, you've got one of the best grids. But what the hell, Genzo? Normally you have some good drivers, but far out. Can we just spend what's left of your battery shitting on Genzo?
No. We've done enough this episode, and we'll run out of battery by the time you guys finish on this one. But guys, it has been absolutely brilliant having you on for this podcast and running through the F3 grid for this. I hope people feel more educated and have had a good laugh listening to this episode as well, because it has been very enjoyable listening to that. Josh, again, a massive thank you for coming back onto the channel. It's always great to kind of have you on, and it's really enjoyable just to kind of chat. As we've said, it's kind of been feeder series stuff. I'm sure we do talk about F1 as well in other conversations, but yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on. So thank you for coming, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been awesome, and it's also been great to see your channel growing as well. Hopefully we can get you guys up into the 1,000 mark as soon as possible.
Oh, thank you very much, Josh. So appreciate that. And obviously Mark needs no thanks at all. A resident on the feeder series now. And his expertise, as always, is absolutely brilliant. So I will thank you, Mark, on that front.
I really enjoyed this one. I finally got to finally got let out of the cage.
He got let out of the cage. He's now put back in the cage for a while, but but yes, guys, it's been an entertaining and brilliant episode of the feeder series for me, and for me, as I hope you guys at home a bit of an education as well, because there are so many names in this grid, and you guys' knowledge is absolutely fantastic to listen to. But guys, if you are new around here, or you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't, if you come across us before Josh, like I say before, make sure you drop him a subscribe as well. Absolutely fantastic content he puts out, and he's feeling a little bit down about how his last video did, so go and give that a watch. You know, it's fantastic looking about drivers.
Help me in this difficult time.
Indeed.
It was just such a good video.
You
Such
see,
a good video. Look at me, God, 10,000 in one day.
It's so. If it doesn't start doing well, we're gonna have to put it down soon. It was such a good video.
God, I've become such a wanker since things have gone decent for my channel.
So on that note, stop Josh crying. That's what we're going for on this one.
Hashtag pray for Revell.
Pray for Revell. But guys, comment down below on your thoughts on your top 5 of who you think from the F3 guys, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see any of your thoughts on this feeder series roundup on F3 season preview. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. But for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.